Mr. Chair, and this is with all due respect, I just don't get why Bondi cannot be held in contempt, why we're not for I don't sit back and say, well, Maxwell's going to plead the fifth, Bondi is going to plead the fifth. I don't care. You're a public servant. Come before this committee. Maxwell, you were directly involved. How many times did the survivors mention her? How many times? Mr. Chair, I think many of us were there with the survivors, and I'd like to bring them into the room because I think it's really important. You know, it's not just one president, but now two that have been connected to the Epstein sex trafficking. One of them even testified about walking into the house, the butler opening the door, there's administrative assistant, having no idea she was walking into a horrific scheme that was sending young girls to the powerful, to the rich, the elected officials. And one of the first pictures she said she saw was of Clinton with his arms around Epstein. She saw another one of Trump with Epstein. And I just remember her almost trying to convince us, like, understand that I had no idea, as if somehow she was guilty. Do you all remember that? And so I'm here to tell you, I'm ready to vote, but I'm also just taken aback and disgusted because I didn't need a birthday card to say the President of the United States, current President of the United States, had something. I didn't need to see the photos by the chairman today of Clinton. All I needed to do was hear the survivors tell us, please do something. These are people that have impacted their lives forever. What I just don't understand, Mr. Chair, and this is with all due respect, I just don't get why Bondi cannot be held in contempt, why we're not for it. I don't care if she says that she wants to plead the fifth. So what? Do it in front of the American people. Same thing with Maxwell. She's telling the committee she's going to plead the fifth. Fine. Have her come before this committee to do it in front of the American people. The fact of the matter is, are you saying that if anybody wants to plead the fifth, they don't have to be forced to come before this committee? That doesn't make any sense. What excuse is that? That doesn't make any sense. The fact that I continue to tell you all, what is the most consistent thing survivors have asked us to do? Follow the money. How come we haven't forced JP Morgan Chase before this committee? How come we haven't allowed Bank of America to come before this committee? Mr. Chair, it is so disgusting. And this is why everybody's so distracted by this whole thing of like, oh, you know, the Clintons, Trump and everything. But who was funding it? Literally, JP Morgan turned a blind eye to evidence of sex trafficking even after his 2008 conviction. Hear me out. After he was convicted, they still hid suspicious activity reports that should have been reported. You know, you see the fact that continuing them saying, well, in 2028, agreed to pay what? $290 million to settle a lawsuit? I don't care. You come here, and because it's the truth, y'all. You guys got to realize Epstein's not the last person. There's probably another Epstein out there right now doing sex trafficking right now. We should hold everybody in contempt that had anything to do to cover this up, including bank executives that still have their jobs. The fact of the matter is, we know what this is. You want to talk about Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, but talk about everybody involved. Because it does look like you're only doing this to distract everyone when we know not one, but two presidents were involved. And those young ladies shaking when they were testing in front of them because they didn't know if they could trust us. Some of them literally said, we had no idea what we were walking into. But they were connected to the rich. They were connected to the presidents. You heard them say that over and over again. But one of the things they continue to say is follow the money. Because, Mr. Chair, Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, JP Morgan, all these people, they will not be the last folks that allowed a sex trafficker to harm young women, children. And so we have to set a very good precedent that we will not sit back and say, well, Maxwell's going to plead the fifth, Bondi is going to plead the fifth. I don't care. You're a public servant. Come before this committee. Maxwell, you were directly involved. How many times did the survivors mention her? How many times? Saying that she lured them in. She was primarily involved. And Mr. Chair, you and I had conversations. And you said, give us names. They gave us names. And you know it. So why are y'all focused only on them? And let me tell you, you know where I stand. I will hold anybody in contempt that will not give us information. I don't care how many lawyers they bounce up on us. But I'll tell you, Mr. Chair, shame on us for not forcing Bondi before this committee. Shame on us for not forcing Maxwell before this committee. Shame on us for not forcing J.P. Morgan Chase to answer questions that many of us have of $1.5 billion in suspicious activity. Because somebody had to fund this madness, this horrific actions by these men. With that, Mr. Chair, I yield.
Ms. Tlaib, if I may respond to some of that before I recognize Ms. Bobert's next. Okay. Confident she is going to be grilled by both parties on the discharge petition. If you didn't want, I don't want to, and Ms. Randall, you mentioned something about the Judiciary Committee. Believe me, I don't want to work with the Judiciary Committee on any investigation, okay? But when we passed that discharge petition, that got them involved.
But we had an outstanding subpoena.
Just let me explain. Pam Bondi's going to be in front of the Judiciary Committee. We'll see how that goes. We'll see if there's been a document dumped.
Mr. Chair, we can't
after that.
forget the banking institutions either.
The last thing, this is the most important thing. Months ago, I approached Ms. Tlaib, Ms. Lee, and Ms. Stansberry, and I said, please, if you all get a chance, and I know you all are all sincere, try to get some names from these women, and we will continue to try to get documents.
Mr. Chair,
If I didn't want to know that, if we didn't want
let's
Ms.
bring these bank
Tlaib, you're out of order. I'm just we want to hold everyone accountable. We don't care if they're billionaires. We don't care if they're Republicans. We don't care who they are.
Do you agree to work with me, though? We got to get the bank executives here. Because, Mr. Chair, you and I know that this is still being funded in some other way. Epstein's dead. But we know there's another person out there doing the same thing. We know it because the banks cover it up. These suspicious activity forms were literally these reports that had to be filed. They were there for a reason. So we can stop.
And last thing, and then I'm going to open it, I think, to see if there's any other members. But we are going in looking at suspicious activity reports, both Republicans and Democrat staffs going in looking at suspicious activity reports as we speak. I'm all about looking at suspicious activity reports. Now, time's expired. Does any other member seek recognition? Mr. Fallon from Texas.